back to another video with me, Shruti Vashist. You're watching Living Our Ascension. So today I want to speak about a very important thing that is happening within the Ascension community, and this is not anything physical as such. I'm going to speak about what's playing out behind the scenes essentially, and when we come into an awareness of that, then we can integrate better, because what we're doing is we're integrating more light. It's kind of like our light is spreading and going deeper, and this is always the case, of course, but I'm really feeling very, very potent activations going on right now. Just what the earth is receiving, because when we function at a certain level in our embodiment, in the embodiment of our ascension, we feel what is happening on the planet, and it's kind of like you're almost like the body of the planet in a sense, even though you're an individual being, and you feel what is happening. And so that's what I want to speak to you about today, and it also relates to some things that were going on within the Ascension community, years ago, within Ascending Souls, because we all find each other, right? That is what soul family reunions are about. Whether you've met physically or you met online, doesn't really matter. And I'm not only speaking about partnerships and romantic relationships and stuff. In fact, I'm focusing more on how we are building communities, majorly online and some physical too. But the interactions that we had there, and what was happening before, and it's like this completion that's happening now. So if you want to hear that, you're interested in it, because I'm observing things that are happening in the community, and I'm going to point them out a little bit so that hopefully it'll help us. It's not supposed to be criticism as such, it's more like just awareness. So yeah, then stay tuned if you'd like to hear that, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and please check out the links below this video. There's links to work with me personally, and I have a new course out called Manifest Soulmate Relationships. It's a 30-day course, really intensive, and yeah, just check out all of the details below. I'm not going to share them all here. There's even a free mini course along the same lines. Okay, so what's happening then within the Ascension Collective, or what is the guidance that I got, rather, that what I've been observing. So I'm usually called to make videos like this, which is rare. I don't remember the last time that I did, and I was even debating if I should even make this video or not, because it in order to illustrate, I do have to bring up some personal things that relate to other people too, even though I'm not going to mention anyone. That's not how I roll, basically. But yeah, but we'll get to it. So basically in this video, I'm going to be bringing you a grounding message, because when we are integrating light, there's one level where we figure out, like, we come into this awareness of light codes, and then there is another level where that seeps into the physical vessel and it becomes grounded, and then it moves out into the physical, and how you apply it and what it looks like in the physical too. So that process is the more grounding process, and usually I meet people when they're more interested in this part, or when they're at this level or whatever. Basically I serve more of that integration and grounding frequency. I mean, we serve everything: ascension guides, and people who especially have embodied a certain level of their self-mastery. Sorry, there's mosquitoes here, they're biting my leg. But when we have basically integrated our light body at a certain level, then you serve everything, but you still have a unique frequency, right? So mine, we come into what that is, the awareness of what ours is, and mine is more of that grounding thing. But anyway, so usually I'm called to bring these messages of integrating both sides, because I feel myself very much experiencing both, and integrating that, and kind of like holding the balance for that, holding space for that to happen on the planet. And sometimes within the Ascension Collective, I'm given I'm shown certain things, let's just say. So what happened recently is that again, I'm called to bring up this example, even though I didn't really want to at a personal level, but and I debated with it, for a few days or whatever, but But when you're called to do something within truth, then it's that's what it is. So what's happening now is that someone that I was connected to before within the Ascension community, I was guided to reach out to them, and I don't follow them or anything because we parted ways, but I was guided to reach out to them because I was somehow guided to a sharing of theirs on social media essentially. And of course, like I said, I never check it out, it's been years and years, but yeah, I don't know, for some reason I just was led there. You know how it is, right? Then I was guided to donate because what their message was, and it wasn't even at a personal level. I didn't feel any personal inclination towards this. It's kind of like I was just, when knowing comes to you sometimes, it's this really powerful, you just know, like your whole body suddenly knows that you have to do something, that it's within truth, you're being asked to within service. And sometimes the first reaction that we have is like, oh no, no, that is like the last thing that I want to do. And it's not like, because at a personal level, it might not be something that you feel is right, or feels like it's going in the right direction or whatever, that action that is required of you. But there's other levels that we serve, right? So we are serving, especially when we land a certain level of embodiment, you're serving much more levels. It's not just this connection between you and another soul who is on the path. It's much more than that. It's service to the planet. It's like your one action, again, the more light that we hold, your one action will make a difference in just the embodiment of light, how it's landing, exactly in what way it's grounding on the planet. It'll have that sort of an impact as well. And then of course, because you're an example for other people, through unseen ways, first of all, just through the energy that you're holding, but also through seen ways, if you're putting yourself out there like I am, with videos or whatever. So the messages that you share and what you're speaking and all of that. So there's multiple ways in which we also impact basically the planet and the Ascension community. So I was basically guided to donate, like send a donation to this person, even though like we're not friends or we're not in contact or anything like that. And like I said, I wasn't personally motivated to at all, and I didn't actually want any sort of like, I'm not looking for a relationship with them, but it was, like I said, it was just something that I was guided to. And there were certain reasons that were revealed to me as well, because you ask yourself, but why do I have to do this or whatever. And when you but you still sort of hold a space of neutrality, then it's revealed to you to whatever degree is right, for you to know. So it was revealed to me, and I did this. And again, I don't usually give examples, and I haven't revealed what this person is, but the thing is, I was guided to make this video and give this example for whatever reason, so I'm just going to trust that. And the reason I wasn't inclined to bring up this example is because in the past, there's people in the Ascension community that are posing as these light workers or working with the light, but really they're not. They're serving the darkness, you can call it. They have other agendas and stuff, and they try to create trouble between me and this person. And so I was like, I didn't want to get into it, but again, like I said, you don't always know what's the higher will, like when it plays out. Something just feels right to us and we have to go with that. We don't always know the details of it. So that's what I'm flowing with at the moment. So this person, when I sent them the donation, they replied to me through that through email, because I was even debating, that I shouldn't send it through my own personal account, because then my name shows up, like it can be an anonymous sort of donation. But I didn't know how to make that happen, and especially because if I'm using my credit card, my name's on it, or my PayPal or whatever. This isn't something that I can request like a friend to do, for instance, because it involves like foreign payment, and in India they're very strict about it. Like PayPal sends you all of these things, and it's like a whole thing. So I didn't feel comfortable asking anybody else to do that for me. But Spirit showed me that no, it needs to go in your name. When this process more mentally was going through me, Spirit said it needs to go through your name. There's a reason for it, and this other person also needs to see that it's coming from you. So I just trusted and I did the action, made the donation or whatever, and then I heard from them, and the reply, essentially, basically, I felt it. It wasn't. It's kind of like, I felt that heart clenching and this mistrust that is there, because what played out in the Ascension community between souls, in the past, and and this is true of anybody who meets, who's coming into soul reunions, these what do you call them? I'm having a hard time concentrating because there's so many mosquitoes biting my feet, not my feet, my whole legs actually. But anyway, what was I saying? So there were things playing out behind, there were things playing out a few years ago, and this usually happens when we start having these soul reunions with people who we knew at a light level, basically soul family. There's different kinds of soul family. All of them are not your primary soul family, but there's different levels, and and there were interactions. So of course there were interactions and exchanges within co-creation, within that true frequency of divine love. But also what it brings to the surface is all of those parts of us, where we don't trust fully, we don't trust life, or we don't trust ourselves, and those more things that we attach to, where we still have control, essentially. And that came out, like in any relationship, and I don't see anything wrong with this at all. But this person at that time, and this control was happening from both sides, there was, I had my part to play for sure, and I even admitted it after it happened. And this person, I didn't really hear from them at all. Like, it was just like they were unhappy with what I was doing, and I spoke about this in the past, so I'm not going to get into the details, because again, I don't want to bring focus on which person it is or what exactly happened. It's more about the dynamics. I want, my main focus is what I feel is that because I saw similar things happening actually, around this time, playing out in the community with other people, in the words that they're speaking, in what, and Spirit brings you messages when you're serving, basically. So yeah, I just want to bring some awareness within the community of the dynamics playing out and what it could mean, so that it brings us integration, essentially. So essentially, after that, what happened was that this person didn't really tell me that they were upset with me about what I was doing, and I hadn't realized that I was doing that it was not coming from a place of fully from my authenticity, my truth, and that there was some negativity playing out, like we all have these hidden parts of us, and they just sort of blocked me, deleted me, whatever. And then their friends and whatever were coming and posting on my social media, and there was like it became a thing after which I admitted to what I did. But basically there was no interaction with this person, and I really felt that how that is still playing out, and even past that, it took us some time to fully come into the knowing of what is this thing that was playing out, and to really let's say integrate it and bring it to the light and integrate it, essentially. But I felt how even after all of these years, this person doesn't trust, like when they sent me the email, I felt it, like it was like a slight heart clenching that was there. And it's not like I didn't feel like they have hatred towards me or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. And people at this level, when we embody a certain level, it's not about hatred, but it's just that there's still certain things that we can still because we're serving, and with our service we are evolving as well. So I felt how they don't trust, they might, I don't know what's on their mind as such, but I felt it through the email. It felt like a business transaction, even though the words weren't such, but it was just how it was there, it was curt, and it wasn't you know, I've had business interactions, for example, exchange of emails that were sort of curt, but even then there was love because there was still some openness. So here I felt that, and it made me, you know, essentially, like, I felt a little bit bad about it, because it's not like I'm looking for a personal relationship with this person, but that's what then triggered, you know, this message, essentially, that I was then guided to make. That all of us, you know, because the way that I would have preferred it is that I don't mind, I don't see anything wrong with, you know, like, if you want to be in a relationship with anybody, really, you talk about, let's say we all talk about, or we desire in the Ascension community, and we speak about these divine reunions, you know, soulmate reunions, twin soul reunions, soul family reunions, you know, whatever it might be, and that cannot happen at all in a proper, stable, long-lasting way if we just cut people out and we're not willing to meet them within the mess of that relationships bring, you know, the so-called mess. And I want to bring our focus to both sides, you know. One is when people, because we tend to do this, like we tend to either do one or the other in relationships. Look, my message, by the way. What does it say? Always better together. Okay, but anyway, so it's about integrating both sides, and it's about sometimes we go too much on one side or the other. And that is when these, you know, we trigger each other as well, let's say. But, you know, we can use the same thing and come into a deeper integration as well. And that is the real purpose of, because that is when it feels the most intense, you know, when you meet other people who are serving a similar path, let's just call it, and holding a similar level of light, or on the same path at least, serving within divine love. Then the kind of shadow that comes out is our things, as well as gifts, are those that, you know, don't necessarily come out at the same level with, like, let's say, the people that you know, like your birth family, or just your, you know, the people that you know who are not serving the path, because they also bring stuff up. They'll also reflect to you your divinity and, you know, your shadow and all of that. But somehow it's like, you know, because fifth dimensional and upwards beings live in the higher heart, so it's like the crux, the core. So what comes out is also from the core, both the divinity and the shadow. And it relates to, also speaking about that, it relates to these things that were playing out, patterns beyond the earth plane, you know, and also at the time of Atlantis as well, and people who are holding the fifth dimensional vibration as well. They are representative of when we're doing something that's not fully within balance, let's say, I think that's a lizard. Anyway, so when we're doing something like that, it's just representing the energetics, you know, that were playing out at that time, and just has been a part of the earth's history as well. So also when we integrate it within ourselves, or we see it, or we can embrace the other within love and ourselves, and all of that, it integrates what's happening on the planet at a bigger level than you can imagine. It's not just about your personal journey, you know, which is another reason we are guided to make videos like this sometimes. So today I want to bring focus on, and I'll try and make this quick now, but I want to bring focus on the two sides. You know, people who are too much, sometimes when we go too much into truth and we keep our focus there, and people who are too focused on love, and, you know, they keep their focus there. So let's start with truth. So it's like, you know, truth is our, it's kind of like when we have this discernment, and we know what guidance has is flowing through us, and there's that vertical alignment that is there within that, and it's sort of just revealed to us, you know. And when we are mainly just, you know, aligned with that and everything that we're doing, there are some distortions that can play out within that. And it is that, you know, when we do too much of that, we can become almost like a fanatic, or we can attract people who are fanatics, you know. Then they'll be reflecting to us how we need to loosen up a little bit. We can feel isolated as well, because again it's about that vertical alignment. Horizontal is the opposite, like you're out in the world and you're, you know, let's say even meeting people and things that are playing out there and stuff. Vertical is more like it's not actually isolating, because it is alignment with spirit, right? And spirit contains everything actually. So it's like it's not like you're alone as such, but it's at a human level we feel like that, right? So we can become isolated, and it feels like, you know, the only relationship I have, real relationship, is with spirit, and everything else is not satisfactory. And we all have felt this to some degree, but notice within yourself if you're feeling this now, because a lot is coming up now after the eclipse and everything else that's been going on. So the other thing that happens when we are too much mosquitoes, when we are too much into when it's too much about truth is that we can whitewash with logic, you know, with like with the sacred principle or with some logic. It's like too much divine masculine, basically too much masculine, and we justify something, a situation or an action or whatever, and it's an isolated fact. It might be a sacred principle, it might be, you know, truth and whatever, but you're putting it in a scenario it's like an isolated fact. It's not considering other things, and it might be true for that one particular thing, but it's like having too much of a narrow vision. Whereas when truth is allowed to flow through love, it's like, you know, when truth is not allowed to flow through love. Religion is an example of that, the way that we have abused religion. I don't mean like when religion was pure and people who practice it like that, but like it becomes too dogmatic. It again becomes fanatical. It's like rules, and this is it, otherwise this is right and this is wrong, or you know, this is the right path, and or I am pure, I am purity, and everything else around me, like I don't get the same level of purity. And then when you believe that, that's what you'll get. And there needs to be some level of allowance of like I was giving the other example, right? There needs to be some level of allowance of how relationships also serve you, how relationships also bring you truth. They're also reflecting your divinity. So you're in denial of that, you know, if you're not allowing it in your life. And even like, let's say you break off relationships when the second that you see that there's something disharmonious happening, you know, either if it's you or them, usually it's both to some degree or the other, right? But you break it off before getting any feedback from the other person, and you're like, no, I have this vertical alignment, so all the truth that I need will flow to me through this is the purest way. Yeah, to one level, to one degree, that is true, but again, then all you're doing is you're here, alignment, and it's almost like you're living you know, like in isolation, or like a yogi who is not going out into the world, is living in a cave and just anchoring light. They don't have anything to do with the world as such. Whereas if you want to do something, you know, because for most masters now, that is the focus, that we're transforming society from within. We're being examples of the light, examples of being a master in the new energy, on the new earth, in the Aquarian age. So part of that is to allow yourself to get into the mess within relationships and trust that you can hold your own within that. It's fine. And another thing that's been really resonating with me these days is that you're firm within. Somebody said this, and of course we already know it, it's nothing new, but sometimes, you know, you hear something and it really resonates in a new way, like you come to the same conclusion. Be firm within, but be soft without. So you know, we all know our own truth, and nobody can know that truth. For example, the truth of me, how I serve on the planet, what my vibration is. Nobody can really know it at the same degree that I do. Nobody can really know it, you know. And there are other things, you know, perhaps the guidance that I'm given, the path that I'm meant to walk, and all of that, that's fine. But when we don't allow in others, and it's like, you know, if you're only going to let in others who fully get it, then you don't get anybody. So I really feel that, you know, that more flexibility is to be called for if you're identifying with this at this time. So allow in other relationships, they're also mirroring to you your divinity in a different way. In fact, they'll be showing you, just like I gave you this example now. It's not that I don't know this, you know, this line that I used where it's like you're firm within but soft without. We know this. I've been speaking about divine love, you know, throughout whatever, but it hits home in a new way, and usually it relates to how we are serving now, how it's unfolding in the now as well. So others bring you that, so there is value in it, you know. You see the value that others also bring, even if all is not within purity, like full whatever our idea of purity is, or we feel they are not as embodied as we are. It's not as if they don't serve you, you know. Everybody's an equal, and allow that equal exchange, the flow of divine love, the flow of co-creation. That's what this age is about. Otherwise we feel isolated, and we'll feel eventually even, you know, that alignment to spirit doesn't feel enough, because I mean, it would be enough, but the thing is that most of us have come here for a purpose that is different. So when your service and your purpose are something else, then it'll show us, you know, through how we feel, and a feeling of, let's say, dissatisfaction. So basically, I guess the message I'm trying to bring home is that we have to be at least be able to trust you know, those who are also on the path within the Ascension community, because there's a lot of things that are playing out, you know. Like I gave you that example of that person who was trying to create trouble, and I'm not even saying you have to be friends with each other, or, you know, be close or whatever it is, but identify, you know, those feelings that you're having, and see if you're wavering too much on one side or the other. I'm going to give the other example too. And we have to stay together. I really got this feeling, you know, that we have to be, we're one community, all of us, and we need to show this example to others as well. And we need to allow, first of all, you know, before, I mean, we are all here in service and we're fully devoted to it. Many of us are. And don't wear yourself out just through this image that we sometimes build, that I am here to serve, so I have to like expend myself too much. Self-care, allowing, relaxing, letting other people in, you know, just playing, sometimes even doing those things that are not about spirituality, or are not fully within the light, let's say, you know, because you as the master are within light. So when you're going and doing those activities or interacting with other people, your experience will still be that, you see. So it's not like the experience goes away, but it also serves you. Okay, let's move to the other side now, which is like, let's say if we are not allowing in enough truth, and that's what we need to do. So when we are not allowing in enough truth, and truth is, you know, the vibration of let's say discernment within love, holding a space of neutrality, but also being able to act. Like when you know that something is right, you have to be able to do it as well, take action for it. And a lot of that within relationships is having very firm boundaries as well. So like I said, you can be firm within and be really firm within, but without, you can be soft. So people who are not allowing in enough truth within relationships especially, you know, they do this because they're scared of upsetting other people. And what happens is that they start feeling like a doormat, they start feeling confused, they might feel like they have no identity, they don't know what their identity is. They might feel envious of other people, and this is how, not just they, you know, all of us, we've all felt these different things. So we might feel envious of other people because, you know, simply because they are choosing what they have, what they know to be right, and they are walking it. And then we look at them, and it creates a feeling within us that why don't I have this? But you don't have it because you haven't invoked it. And invoking something, choosing something, means saying no to something else as well. When you say yes to something, you're, you know, a lot of the times you're saying no to something else. So you have to be comfortable saying no to things, to people as well. And you can do it again in a way that is not you can't always control the reactions of other people, you know, they might still be offended or whatever, but you do it within love, and at a deeper level they will know it. So then, or we feel like we have no identity when we are not fully allowing ourselves to be aligned with truth, or we feel suppressed in some way as well. like we can't live our authenticity, be the authentic master that we are on this planet. So so what I'm finding with this now, I'm sure that many of you already know this, but what I'm finding now is that like on my path, and I've been experiencing both sides with different people, and you know, the feedback that I'm getting from people, also how I'm observing my friends, like they're also telling me how it's been a bit of an intense time these days, and I was also experiencing that. We all are. So in fact, the eclipse was in my sign, you know, of Cancer, and I even have planets in Capricorn, which is the sign of partnership and relationships for me. And the past whatever 2 years or such, it's been quite intense when it comes to relationships for me, because of different alignments. I'm not going to talk about that, but essentially there's been a lot of like letting go and really grounding this earthy wisdom as well. That has been very gratifying but challenging in the moment when it happens. So there's a lot that's coming through relationships to us from for me at least, from both sides of me needing to embody more truth, as well as you know, the other side of letting go of this vertical alignment and being more open as well to receive, you know, because then you can receive love as well. So what's happening now is that if you're not allowing in enough truth, you feel like you're always explaining yourself. And this is I'm really finding this in recent months, that I keep getting this message: you don't need to explain yourself in relationships, because sometimes we have this habit, like we love people, or it's our birth family, or you know, our partner, whoever it might be, even colleagues and stuff, and we feel that if we don't explain ourselves, that well, I did this, I took this action, like let's say you're doing the best you can, like you're having some sort of a disagreement or whatever, and you're doing the best you can to still keep it, you know, civil, or to do the best, because essentially, because there can be a bit of quite a big difference in the field of light that you hold, in the level of light that I hold, and you know, a family member of mine might hold, for example, or other people around me, because they're not on the path, right? So whenever there's a difference in the light, there is going to be this sort of clash, but we don't have to experience it always as clash, so we can allow for that more easing to happen. And a part of that is not having to explain yourself, over explain yourself. Once you have said something once, that's it. You know, you have conveyed your truth, you've conveyed why you did a certain thing, if you feel it's necessary. And if the person is not hearing it, like hearing it with the heart, they're not going to hear it. You can keep giving words, you can give a whole paragraph, you know, you can speak for an hour, they're not hearing it, they're not in the place where they are hearing it, they haven't come to you open within love to hear it. So this is where we need boundaries, and once we have conveyed it once, it's fine, you know, you don't have to then take care of their feelings and what will they think if I just say no, or if I don't respond, if they're shouting at me, but you know, it feels like it's right. So another thing here is that you are human. So that means you don't have to be perfect, you know, in the sense that it's okay. Don't make yourself suffer for the little mistakes that you made. So let's, you know, usually people come up to us and they're like, well, you didn't do this, that, you know, you left the light on, or you didn't replace, I don't know, like the toilet roll, or whatever it might be. And people hold on to like a small thing like this, and I'm not even saying it's not valid. But in my life, I find that, you know, there'll be something that I'll be doing, but also they're also doing things that I'm also holding space for. And on top of that, when people come and they shout at you, or they misbehave in some way because of the way that the things that they are going through, and I can actually see this in some people, they're actually bursting into their ascension process, and in the beginning when that happens, all this shit comes out, right? And it's difficult because like the heart is opening up, and it almost feels like a heart attack, I imagine would feel. It's like bursting. So all of the pain and everything comes out, and different people are going through this as well. So I can see you know, that they're going through this process, but in that I don't have to be perfect, you know, that if and like sometimes people become very measured as well, like when they're still trying to fix things in the outer and blame people, when we are still doing that, when we haven't realized that change actually happens from within, that things can be fixed, so-called, from within. They can be approached from an inner in an inner way, then they are still looking at you know, you did this, it's like a whole calculation thing. And when you're living a calculated life, you have a calculated relationship, it's, you know, other people around you are going to feel like they're like in their office with this really strict boss or whatever, and the moment that they find a better offer, they're leaving. So you don't want to create that in your personal relationships, right? And if you want any semblance of relationship in your life, which I think we all desire as humans, we have to have more allowance. So stop making yourself suffer, because people have this perception, I've been explaining in recent videos, that you consider yourself enlightened or spiritual or whatever, and look at this, you did this. And you are human, you're allowed to do, you know, certain things, it's fine. And usually, you know, within myself, I know that I'm pretty introspective, and I'm open to even receiving feedback from people. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to take it on as this suffering. Now I owe them so much, and I keep overdoing. Because when you actually land within the vibration of divine love, it becomes very equal. Like, you have to be within that equal flow. So if you're not calculating with the mind, like in the previous example that I was giving you, but it's almost like even sometimes people will be like, you know, you're supposed to do dusting or whatever, and you haven't done it in a bit, but the way that they say it is a certain way. Or I go and I'm like, should I do it today? And then they're like, no, you know, because they're in that more victim state. And then I'm like, fine, you know, then I do whatever work I have to do for that day, and I move on. And then this person at a later point is like, you didn't do it for this long, or they're still using that and carrying it on. This is just an example. See, I'm not responsible for that. Like, this is how people take care of others' feelings. Don't take care of others' feelings, because the vibration of divine love, like I said, is about harmony, is about equal give and take. If it's not equal give and take, we hold an open space always for the other person, in that when they want to meet us within love, we are open to meet them, but we're not going to engage in actions in that space where people are sucking us in, and it's not love. They don't actually desire balance at that time. At that time when they're choosing it, they're not desiring balance, and they're trying to suck you into something else. And I'm not saying it won't change, that this person is always going to desire this, but you have to say no to that, and you have to choose harmony and divine love, and you don't have to make yourself suffer. And I'm a good person, I always have to do the right thing. You know, sometimes the right thing is to be an example of empowerment, is to let the other person also question within themselves that why, if they're questioning, why is she behaving the way she is, or she's not responding, or, you know, usually she does it this way. And they go through their own inner process, because they don't get that, what they're trying to create, like this drama or whatever. And of course, when we get into that as well, you need to be able to forgive yourself too. You need to be able to forgive yourself for doing that, and just see it, hold space for it. It's fine. And that is really how we do balanced relationships. Making choices like that, this is how it plays out. So also, I've explained in a recent video that you serve via the light. So know your contribution. Your contribution is not only physical. If people are telling you things like, you know, you're not, if people are supporting you in some more physical ways, and they're wondering, well, what is it that you do? You know, you're not doing the same level. Like, you're doing some things, but you're not doing the same level as me. Well, you are. Like, I know for myself, I'm doing a lot. You know, the people that I live with, they're actually physically healthy. And I know that some people are going to think this is arrogant, but I know what I do with the light. So, even though they're a certain age, like my parents and stuff, they don't have any major problems. And the way, you know, sometimes that they live their life, or I've seen them change it, their eating habits became much more close to vegan over the years. And I didn't even ask them. I'm not even one of those people that goes and says, you should do this, you should do that, or this is, you know, there was nothing, no words exchanged. It just unfolded. You know, it's not only even just the food, it's the light that I hold. And it you know, helps others integrate. And sometimes light triggers people. It triggers us also when it's flowing through us for the first time, a new level of light, and it triggers other people. So that is also helping them become more embodied, you see. that brings the vibration of truth in, and then they can choose whatever they want. So you serve via the light. That is also your contribution. So that is part of your contribution. Having boundaries is part of your contribution. So yeah, and I'm not saying, of course, become, you know, don't be answerable for anything in relationships. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you feel like if you're getting this feeling, I'm a doormat, I'm confused, I don't know who I am, I float this way and that, like my personality within relationships gets too influenced, I have no identity, I'm suppressed, I'm envious or whatever, be truthful, then perhaps these are some things that you need to do, that you can look at. Is to embrace more truth, more of your authentic truth. Go within, find what is your authentic truth for the now, and then the action, the right action will come from there. But I really wanted to bring home this message, especially for the Ascension Collective, especially for the community of ascending beings and, you know, our light family, whatever you want to call it. That, you know, there's things resolving from those times that we started, and there's always these cycles playing out, and you know what's happening this year. It's so intense, right? So obviously even within the Ascension community, things are culminating, and then because of that, new light is landing, and I really felt it yesterday, but I'll make another video about that probably. There was really just this deep integration that, like, we're penetrating into more of the shadow, and the light is, and the reason for that is because the light is expanding as well as going deeper. And yeah, but I'll explain that in another video, it'll get too long here. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts, what you're going through. Please be authentic to yourself as well. One thing that I forgot to mention is that I've been seeing in the community where, again, people are not, when they're not embracing their own truth enough. They're just, we tend to, I've done this in the past as well, you know, you lift words off of other people, and it's not, it hasn't become embodied for you yet. You might be resonating with it at a light level, you know, you recognize it as truth, but let that truth flow through you, and then it'll become your own particular wisdom. It'll come through you in your own words, through your own embodiment as your own vibration, and it'll feel authentic, even though it's the same thing. Like, we're all talking about the same thing, right? The truth is, like, you know, the singularity. There's just one thing that exists at its very core. But we're all a unique expression. Love is about diversity. Truth is about that singularity. It comes from that singularity, and love is about that diversity. So allow both, embrace both, and be really honest with yourself, because it's not just your own embodiment. You are serving a greater, something greater that is landing now. It's something for the planet, you guys, which is why also I'm called to make this video. So be authentic within yourself, and know what it is you're doing. Be truthful, and then you can make a choice that is right for you. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and I will see you in the next one.